Good afternoon. This is Dan Leonard with Marathon Retirement Planning, and today we're going to talk about some, I'm going to say, random Social Security facts. Basically, I've got five kind of terms or topics we're going to talk about. Should be a quick video, so thank you for tuning in, and I'll be right back. Good afternoon, and again, thank you for tuning in to the Marathon Retirement Planning PG&E Retirement Show. And as you know, every week, Monday at 2:30, we're here live on Facebook, and then we edit them and put them up on the YouTube channel. But I'm going to just jump right in today. Like I said, five quick topics I want to talk about. First one is something called quarters of coverage, and you need 40 quarters of coverage to be what's called fully insured. So what is a quarter of coverage? It's two things. One, it's time, and the other, it's money. So seems pretty straightforward, but of course it's the government, so it's not that straightforward. A quarter of coverage is the 90-day period, but it also means you have to earn $1,320 in that quarter to get covered. The reason why I said it's not straightforward is if you make $5,280, you made enough money to get 4 quarters of coverage because it's $1,320 per quarter. But you have to go through the quarters, literally live through those quarters. There's been examples of people that in January of their 9th year earn enough money to get 4 quarters of coverage, but they pass away before the end of the calendar year. They don't have 40 quarters of coverage, and then they're not considered fully insured, and it affects the way any spousal benefits would be paid. So the quarters of coverage, while it's pretty straightforward, you need 40 of them. Again, each one of those quarters, you've got to earn $1,320, but that $1,320 could all be earned at one time, and then you have to make it, basically the full year to get the 4 quarters. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, it's not something that comes into play very often, but I have heard the occasional story of someone that just, they've got the earnings, but they pass away, and that leaves the family in a weird place. Another item to touch on is your Social Security card. Now, I recently just had the pleasure of getting a new one because, and here in California, many of you may or may not be aware, there's the new Real ID laws that are coming into effect, which basically your driver's license after October is not going to be able to get you on a domestic flight unless you have the new enhanced ID. And so to do that, you've got to go into DMV, and you've got to have your birth certificate or a U.S. passport and a Social Security card. There's a list of things you need. So I had my passport and I had my Social Security card, except it said the Social Security card can't be laminated. So I went online, very easy, to my own Social Security site, was able to request a Social Security card. One came in the mail 10 to 12 days later. No problem. Seems pretty straightforward. There's a form if you don't have online access that you can send it in. Again, they'll mail it to you. But here's the catch. They won't send you more than 3 Social Security cards in any one given year. Now, hopefully you're not that disorganized you'd lose it 3 times in 1 year. But they do limit to 10 reissues in a lifetime. So, some people want to always make sure they have it. They lose it, get another one. When you get to, kind of the 9th one, you want to make sure you keep it in a safe place, because it becomes a hassle if you need one and you've gotten 10 replacements. They're not going to send you a new one without jumping through a lot of hoops. So, again, kind of random fact, but the thing is, a lot of times you get one when you're young, and then maybe it goes in a drawer somewhere and gets lost, and then you get another one. And like I said, most people don't lose it 10 times, but if you do, you're out of luck. Number 3, divorced spouses. So you were married, you get divorced. And if you were married more than 10 years, you are eligible for a divorced spouse benefit. So even if it was the worst divorce ever and you two fought like cats and dogs, you are still eligible for your divorced spouse benefit. Now, the spouse that had the lower income is going to be the one that would be interested in collecting on the divorced spouse benefit if their benefit on their own would be less than half of what their spouses would have been. Because obviously you'd collect on your own if it was more than the divorced spouse. But in cases where maybe one spouse didn't work, the non-working spouse can collect half of their divorced spouse benefits. Now, if you get divorced and you're over 62 and you want to immediately start collecting, you've got to have your spouse's permission to collect on the spousal benefit if you're collecting within 2 years of the divorce. If you've been married, or if you were married for more than 10 years and divorced for more than 2, you don't even have to contact your ex-spouse. You can just go online and file, or go to the office and file. And the reason for that is, if again you were the spouse that had the lower wages, they don't want a spouse that you are no longer married to be able to restrict your ability to gain the benefits. So they do have that 24-month period in there to help people from kind of gaming the system where, hey, you couldn't collect on my spousal benefit today because we're married, so let's get divorced so you can collect on the spousal benefit and then I won't collect on mine. So it's Social Security's way of trying to prevent people from getting divorced for convenience, other than, why people normally get divorced. But again, 10-year marriage, you do not need your spouse's permission if you've been divorced more than 2 years. And for those of you that have had several marriages, if you are the higher wage earner, more than one spouse can collect on your benefit. It doesn't affect your benefit or your current spouse's benefit. So again, if it's a contentious divorce and it's been more than 2 years, you do not have to contact your old spouse. Just contact Social Security. And you want to ask what your benefit is, not what your spouse's benefit was, because they can't tell you what theirs was, but what they can tell you is what yours would be. And if you're really interested to figure out what theirs is, just multiply yours by 2. Now, if you take it at 62 versus your full retirement age, there is a reduction in it, just like normal Social Security, but you will get something from your divorced spouse. Social Security wage base. When you look at your paycheck, you usually see a deduction that says FICA. So that FICA is the Federal Insurance Contribution Act, and that's what basically allows the government to go in and take Social Security and Medicare tax. Those two taxes are what make up FICA. Now, it's 6.2% for Social Security, and that is charged on the first $128,400. Then the Medicare is on the full amount of your earnings, and that's 1.45%. So for a total of 7.65% on your first 128,400, then that 6.2, which is Social Security, goes away after that, and the Medicare continues to be taken out. So that's what makes Social Security what they call a regressive tax, meaning the more you make as a percentage of your overall income, the less it is. Up to 128,400, it's 6.2. But if you make $1 million a year, obviously the 6.2 on the 128 is a much smaller percentage than if you said, let's say you made $200,000 a year, right? So the more you make, the lower Social Security taxes really are as a percent of your salary. And then finally, widow or widower benefits. So you're married, you were married for more than 9 months, your spouse was fully insured, meaning they had the 40 quarters of coverage. That spouse passes away and you are, well, you're at whatever age that is, but when you turn 60, and it's really 50 if for some reason you're disabled, but let's assume everybody's healthy and fine, your spouse passes away, you reach age 50, you can collect a widow's benefit that is completely distinct and different than your own benefit. So you can start collecting that at 60 and then later switch over to your own benefit. So if you're in the unfortunate situation of you lost a spouse that was fully insured, meaning they had a 10-year work history or 40 quarters, you can collect on your spouse's widow's benefit, It's not going to be as much as your own probably, but, and again, reductions for early claiming. But if you wanted to at 60, you can start an income stream from your widow's benefit. And if you're fortunate enough that you were the higher wage earner and you've got a good income, you might collect the widow's benefit up to 70 and then switch over to your own benefit later on. But the keys there is you had to be married for at least 9 months, unless, and these are the two big exceptions, your spouse's death was accidental or in the line of work. Those two waive that 9-month period. Again, Social Security's way of trying to stop people from, getting married to get a spousal benefit, because, it's kind of a morbid thing, but there are people that would cruise a nursing home to find someone to get married to just to get a benefit. So that's kind of the dark side of financial planning and some of the government benefits. You do see people doing things that are questionable. So 5 random facts. Again, quarter of coverage, you need 40 replacement cards, 3 in a year or 10 lifetime. Divorced spouse, if you're married 10 years, you can collect. Your ex-spouse can't stop you. And if they have multiple ex-spouses, everybody can collect on that benefit. FICA, 6.2% for Medicare, 1.45 for 6.2 for Social Security, 1.45 for Medicare, for a total of 7.62%. That's your contribution. The employer matches it. And then widow benefits, married for 9 months, spouse was fully insured, and they passed away at age 60, you can collect. So 5 thoughts for you for today on Social Security. Hope you're having a great week, or have a great week. And if we can do anything, feel free to give me a question and or leave a comment and leave me a question, and I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. Thank you so much. Again, have a great week.